Welcome back. Here we are revolutionizing news with your non-party affiliated host, that's me, and an open platform of discussion. Today we've got 4 parties, the only platform on the internet to do that. So help us grow by smashing that thumbs up button right now. Join the movement if you like a discussion like this with more opportunity and more opinions. Hit that subscribe button, and if you want to participate, put your answers to the topic questions in the comments below. And now let's hear from the guests. So on our first topic today, Jacob, Yahoo News headline trending article stated last night that President Biden signed an executive order protecting transgender athletes in school sports. So Jacob, do we need an executive order like this right now? And really, what does it mean for America?
Well, first of all, I like the horse race of who can sign more executive orders and have more government overreach immediately right into office. It's just like, oh, let's see how many executive orders dating all the way back, after Reagan? This is virtue signaling at its finest. I mean, with all the stuff we've got going on right now, we are going to have an executive order like with the stack of executive orders that Biden's doing right now. This is going to be something that hits headline news. And I was sitting here thinking about it, and I'm just like, wow. I mean, of all things, there's stuff going on in the background. This is obviously something that they're doing to, kind of reach out to the LGBTQ community, which is, just a crazy political move. I mean, as far as a libertarian stance, I don't even think that the federal government has any business trying to regulate with identity politics. I mean, this is identity politics at its finest. And I was actually taken back by this, especially with an incoming president that said, we don't, Trump was doing all the executive orders, he was saying, oh yeah, I won't be that president. And what does he do? He out executive orders the president Trump on his
Yeah. Okay. Like right so there. Mike, getting to the topic question itself, for the viewing audience, you're representing a Republican point of view. President Biden has signed this executive order. Is this something that we need right now? And what does it translate to for Americans? Your take. I can't hear you.
First, I want to echo what Jacob said. I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. In terms of priorities, this is way down on the list. Austin may feel differently and others may feel differently, but for me, this is something that's well down on the list. And I think here there's a broader issue, and I'm not even sure this is a left or right or center issue. I just look, for example, we're looking at 2 what we consider to be marginalized groups, females and then the transgender community. And so what we're doing is we're sacrificing one marginalized community for the other. The victim in this is not males. The victim in this is not, my son, for example, ran high school track. He ran an 11.2. That was his fastest time. That didn't get him any looks in any colleges, anything. If he was a female running 11.2, he would be within 4/100ths of a second of state champion. So, and this has happened in Connecticut, for example. There's a lawsuit underway right now where there are 2 high school athletes that would be state champions, but for two males that identify as females, for example, that were doing poorly as male athletes and now decided to run as female athletes and have been 2-time state champions. So the victims in this is really not the community. It's the community that's just pitching one against the other. So that's one primary concern. Another one's just pure issue of injuries. If you look at field hockey, for example, there have been 2 very, very severe incidents where 2 females have been severely injured by large athletic males because, again, they're blessed with testosterone. If we're going to open the door for this, then let's allow performance-enhancing drugs, because if we're going to start to alter the hormone makeup of males and females, then let's open the doors all the way.
Okay, Austin, we want to hear from the Green Party. Again, it's just not a party that gets a lot of media attention. From the Greens, is this an executive order that we need right now? I mean, we saw a whole slew of executive orders, to Jacob's point, come out of the Biden administration almost immediately. So is this one that we really need right now? And what does it translate to the average American?
This executive order came out of the Idaho requiring transgender athletes to undergo certain types of medical examinations for mainly high school athletics. These are underage children who have to go through invasive chromosomal analysis, hormone level monitoring, as well as inspections of athletes' internal and external reproductive anatomy. These are children. And I want to clarify a few things, get a few terminology correct for people watching. Transgender, a person who is transgender, is someone who does not identify with their biological sex. So whatever is written on their birth certificate, or when they came out, the doctor looked at them, looked at their genitals and said, this is a male, this is a female. Someone who is transgender does not identify with that. A cisgender person is someone who does. So I'm cisgender. I was born a male, I came out, the doctors looked at me, said, yep, this is a boy. I've been socialized as a boy, and I identify as being male. And this all boils down to the fact where testosterone and other estrogen performance-enhancing drugs aren't performance-enhancing drugs. We all have testosterone. We all have estrogen in us at different levels. Some women produce more testosterone than others. So is this a slippery slope to classifying who exactly is a woman, even though there are cisgender women-born women that produce more than others, and it'll only hurt them in the long run as well.
Okay, and Keith, rounding out our first time around, and then I'm going to let everybody respond. And you in the audience, if you haven't already, hit that thumbs up button. If you like this question in the comments, I want to hear your responses. So getting into this with Keith, we're looking at a number of executive orders come out, but this is one that seems like it didn't really fall in line with a lot of others that President Biden had put on the table. Is this something that we need right now, and what does it mean for the average American?
Well, as I mentioned privately to you previously, I can't go too far into what I think about this issue, frankly, because trans activists are vicious people and they will try to get me fired. So, and that I'm not saying that as a dodge because I'm anti-trans or in any such way. I'm not, and I never have been. I lived in West Hollywood, 15 years ago, and I was having a trans person cut my hair, and we got along great. It doesn't bother me. And in fact, coming from a liberal perspective in Los Angeles, where pretty much everybody I talk to is pretty liberal, nobody cares what's happening in your pants. Nobody wants to know. We're all comfortable with it. We don't care. But I disagree with some of the nuances of what's happening, but I can't go into detail on that because as some people, for example, Joe Rogan have been turned into examples of this. You can go down the list and you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I support you. I want you to have a happy life. I want everything to go well for you. If somebody starts beating you up because you're trans, I will step in and take a punch for you. But here's my little nuance that I disagree with. Boom, you're anti-trans. So I really wish I could say something more substantive, but these people will hunt me down and get me fired. They really are
and
vicious.
that's absolutely true. And we've seen cancel culture run rampant, and we've had discussions about cancel culture before where it does come up. Just asking the question. We're just asking questions. We're just looking at opinions. We're looking at on your end of things. What do you think? What are you getting out of it? And how is your party going to move forward? I mean, it's very hard for the government to mandate things and maintain a certain level of freedom. And that's what we're seeing across the board, is that most Americans just want freedom. And with more executive actions and more legislative options out there, it does alienate one group over another. So I think that as Americans, we definitely value our freedom overall. Yeah. So Jacob, I'm going to let you respond to our guests, and we'll go around. So I'm going to give each one of you that minute to respond to each other. Go ahead. We'll start with you, Jacob.
Yeah, like I said before, this is just total government overreach. It's kind of nice, a good topic for libertarians, because there's not a lot of people that disagree with us on this stance. It's really nice because it doesn't always happen with us. We have to over-explain everything. But I mean, what it comes down to is, there should be no executive orders for any of this. It does ultimately have a backlash effect. Person I consider my brother, I grew up with him from the time I was 10, is transgender. And he, he explained it. So I have a unique perspective of this. He's like, I wish they would just let us do our thing. And then the government comes out and then overregulates it, causes backlash, gets resentment towards these communities. And ultimately, so on a social scale, it divides us more. Instead of, you're not allowed to talk about that. You're not allowed, like you guys were saying. And then all of a sudden it becomes more and more divided. And then we can't even have a reasonable conversation about it, especially when it's legislated.
We're going to move to Mike now, but before I do want to say to our audience that is watching this, if you have questions or you have concerns and you just need somebody to talk to, please reach out to the family and friends around you. There are hotlines and numbers that you can easily Google if this is a topic that you do want to talk to somebody about, and we're definitely supportive in this community of outreach and talking to other people. So definitely, if you've got concerns or questions, please reach out to loved ones, family, and friends. If they're not responding, then definitely reach out to hotlines and numbers. There's a lot of help out there for folks that do want to talk about these subjects. Okay, Mike, go ahead and respond in your last minute.
Yeah, so I just want to kind of echo both what the other three panelists have said as well. I think one key thing here is part of the question is this near the top of the list for executive orders when we're in the midst of a pandemic and unemployment, so many other things. I mean, there's just so many things going on in the world, and I just don't see this near the top. I would be saying the same thing if it was a Republican president and we were trying to find executive orders for anything other than the top 10 issues. So this really has nothing to do with Democrat, Republican. This just isn't a top 10 issue. That's one thing. Secondly, I would say I'd like to echo what Keith said. It is a shame that we can't have these tough conversations anymore with people because of the backlash. That's a shame because I think it benefits everyone to have these kinds of conversations. I would say the same thing Keith would. If there is any question of equal rights, equal employment, equal housing, equal treatment for any member of our community, whether they be, gay, lesbian, transgender, anything else, that is not an issue. That's not a point of contention. That's not something we should even be discussing. That is an absolute given. And like Keith, I would step in front of somebody. If I saw somebody that was, being abusive toward any member of our community, and I treat all of those being part of our same community, they're not separate communities. We're all in this together. I would be the first to step in and say that's not acceptable. I think the key thing here is just this particular topic at this particular time and being legislated at a federal level. Now, again, as Austin said, if I was in Idaho, I might see this differently. But I'm just thinking of issues that appeal, what I see as being the top level issues. And again, I'll just say one more time that it's shameful that we can't have these open and honest discussions without fear of reprisal. I think it benefits everybody to have open and honest discussions and really get an understanding of kind of how we all came to the understanding that we're at. So.
Okay, and Austin, your last minute?
The International Olympics Committee has, since 2004, had regulations for transgender athletes saying that they can participate in the gender that they identify with as long as they've gone through full medical transitioning and it's been cleared by a doctor. High school is a scary time. It's even scarier if you're transgender or gay or lesbian or bisexual. Only 10 to 15% of people who identify as transgender actually participate in high school athletics because it's not a welcoming environment for them. If you don't see yourself represented in a system, you just simply will not participate. So we need to make our athletics scene more open and more free for all those who want to participate and want to live happy and healthy lives going on in the future.
And we'll round out this segment with Keith. What's your last response to our panelists?
The Democratic position is officially, and I'm talking the party position at this point, is it's a jumbled mess because it officially we are all whatever trans activists say we agree with, and whatever feminist activists say we agree with, and now they're fighting with each other, which causes obviously quite the conundrum for the party. But on a personal level, I gotta say, I'm just happy to not be the monster under the bed for once. It's for the last at least 5 years, I've been the boogeyman. And, despite, doesn't matter what my personal characteristics are, just by my immutable characteristics, I'm the bad guy. So I'm gonna sit this one out. Guys, have at each other. Sorry, folks.
Well, it sounds like It does sound like that there's a lot of agreement that open communication is probably the best thing for any of these types of topics, and having an open mind and instead of canceling or censoring each other, that's probably not the best way to go about it. So if you, again, need somebody to talk to, please reach out to friends and family members. If you have somebody that you can't talk to, there are numbers that you can Google, and we'll put some of those in the description below if you do need to speak to people. So we thank everybody for joining us today. Thank our guests. You as the viewer, if you got something out of it, give us a thumbs up and a like, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks, guys. Bye.